fly again. So right now I'm in the capital, most likely, depending on what time you get this. Or I'm like in a layover in London or something. I don't know. But I'll arrive today in North Africa. So I just asked for prayer for our field workers, that they can just get comfortable with us being there. I guess like they've been preparing for us like as long as we've been preparing to go, so like that our team and then their family can just really instantly connect, and that the girls on my team can really just love on our field workers' daughters, because they desperately need friends and are really excited to hang out with us. And so I just pray for their family specifically, if you could keep them in your prayers. And also for energy, because I know that it'll be difficult, like heading right into this after a really long plane ride. So anyways, I really pray that you're doing well. I'm always praying for you. So I think you'll come home from Europe tomorrow. Yeah. And so hopefully you have a safe plane ride home. We should read my notes. Today, June 12th. I noticed June 11th, June 12th, and June 13th is all titled the same thing. Getting there. And so like I just realized this after reading June 12th, and so the kind of like subtitle for there is Getting to Where Our Self-Interest Sleeps and the Real Interest is Awakened, which I find really interesting. I'll just read on. Okay. That's a quote. They remained with him that day. I think it's probably from John. And so that is all of us will ever do, is just remain with him that day. We stay with him for a short time, only to wake up to our own realities of life. Our self-interest rises up, and our abiding with him is past. Yet there is no circumstance of life in which we cannot abide in Jesus, which I love. You are Simon, this is also quotes, you shall be called Cephas, which is, I think, John 1:42. God writes our new name only on the places in our lives where he has erased our pride, self-sufficiency, and self-interest. Some of us have our new name written only in certain spots, like spiritual measles. I don't know why that's funny. In those areas of our lives, we look alright. When we are in our best spiritual mood, you would think we are the highest quality saints. But don't dare look at us when we are not in that mood. A true disciple is one who has his name written all over him. Self-interest, pride, and self-sufficiency have been completely erased. I wish. Pride is the sin of making self our God. And some of us today do this, not like the Pharisee, but like the tax collector. For you, there's a reference to Luke 18:9-14, which you should look up. For you to say, oh, I'm not a saint, is acceptable by human standards of pride, but it is unconscious blasphemy against God. This is really interesting, actually, reading this. You defy God to make you a saint, as if to say, I am too weak and hopeless and outside the reach of the atonement by the cross of Christ. Why aren't you a saint? Is it either that you do not want to be a saint, or that you do not believe that God can make you into one? You say it would be alright if God saved you and took you straight to heaven. That is exactly what he will do. And not only do we make our home with him, but Jesus said of his Father and himself, we will come to him and make our home with him, which is John 14:23. Put no conditions on your life. Let Jesus be everything to you, and he will take you home with him not only for a day, but for eternity. And I like have little subpoints. Really liked when they were talking about God writes our new name in places in our lives that he has erased our pride, self-sufficiency, and self-interest. And going back to St. Simon, which is, he was called Cephas. Cephas is Peter in the Greek, and, well, Petros in the Greek, and then Peter in English, as you know. But it's actually Syrian, I believe. Yeah, I think. I don't know, I should look that up before recording this, but whatever. And I really like, in the direct translation is rock, and Peter began, or Simon went on in his used to be prideful self, and then since the death of Christ was renewed and had a different name. And I love how Jesus, when Andrew brings Simon to Jesus, automatically does what Jesus says, hey, you're not Simon anymore, you're Cephas. Like, I love that he already foreknew that Simon, now Peter, was going to be the rock and the very foundation of the church of Christ. Like, he knew that, like, despite his pride, like, he was gonna completely wash that away and make him the foundation of our faith. Like, whoa. So, I just think that's really cool, because he does the same with us. Like, how it says he renames us, like, in places that have been taken away, like pride, self-sufficiency, self-interest, which I still struggle with, like, obviously. But to know that, like, he has the ability to replace that pride with humility, and not just, like, how it says, like, our human humility, like, when we, like, interact with people, or, like, say someone gives you a compliment or something. I do this all the time. And I'll be like, oh no, like, I'm no saint, like it says, and that's just my reaction, because I don't really know what else to say, and I don't want to sound like, oh, yeah, thank you, like, I realized after reading this that, like, that's such an insult to God, like, in saying that, like, I'm not capable of this, because God, through God, I can be, but instead, in our absolute humility, we should say, like, you know what, like, God is the only reason that I'm here now, and the only reason that I'm gonna be, you know, wherever He wants me next, and, like, that's the humility that He wants us to strive after, where it's, like, He is our everything, and not ourself. Like, I, like, kind of coined this word, like, self-reliant humility is completely just worthless. He wants true humility in Him, which I like this, actually, a lot. This is probably something that I could be working on. Actually, it is, but it's something that I could be reading all the time. But I love how it says, like, not to put conditions on our life, like, not to limit ourselves. Like, we could say, like, I'm so weak, like, I'm not worthy, but it's like, God's worthy. Like, God makes us who we are. God uses us in the most awesome conditions that we would never be able to fathom if it wasn't for Him. And so, like, I love how it says He will take us home. Like, He has given us salvation, and He will now make us perfect and blameless before His throne. But it's nothing that we could ever do. Like, our flesh is so ugly. And dwelling in our flesh, and dwelling in our attempts to be humble, like, in our own sense, or to be like Christ, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's really late here, so this video might not be that great, but dwelling in ourself and not dwelling in Christ, I think, is something, it's like human nature, and knowing that He is everything that we need. Like, He is nothing that we have of our own, like what gifts that we think we have, what abilities we think we have. Like, we can't even begin to raise ourselves up because of those, because they're nothing, like, without Him. Like, He is the one that gave us all of that, and He is the one that should be glorified through that. And even in conversation, like, in our own ways of going about relationships, still, like, He's the very center. Like, in our relationship, like, I shouldn't be seeking after what I want, or be, like, making myself higher up on a pedestal. Like, I should be the lowest of lows, like God and then you. and seeking that true humility and selflessness, and not having self-sufficiency or self-interest, like, having that completely gone. That's, like, where God will come and rename what that used to be. And